Well, we've just been watching Nottingham Forest beat Leeds United by 1-0. Vinny, this was your typical Forest Premier League performance. It's the fifth home game they've won at the City Ground since their return to the Premier League. They haven't conceded a goal in any of them. 4 of them have been 1-0 victories. It's not pretty on the eye, but it may well be enough to keep them in the league.
Yeah, and I think that's all that matters, to be fair to Steve Cooper. He's under not that much pressure because they're not expected to play good football, great football. It's just meant to get results and stay in the league, and they've done that. To be fair to Leeds, I think Navas was probably the difference today. String of really good saves kept them in the game when Leeds were decent in that first half, and then ultimately Leeds ran out of ideas. And Forest, you would say, Johnson's finish is brilliant, but beyond that, they had no real quality in the home game. And as you said, it's becoming a bit of a fortress ground, the City Ground, and really good result for them, and it takes them away from the danger zone a little bit more.
It's a remarkable thing and shows where the Premier League is at, that we're talking about Keylor Navas, 3-time Champions League winner at Real Madrid, who's just moved on loan from Paris Saint-Germain, is the goalkeeper for Nottingham Forest, who are only back in the top flight after a couple of decades out of it. The spending power, the money that is involved. They've bought a ridiculous amount of players, up on 30 players since the start of the summer transfer window. It does seem as though Cooper has found the formula though that works from now.
Yeah, he has. As I said, it's a strange comment to make in the sense of there's no real pressure on them. They don't look like a really good footballing team. I would say to you, coming into the game, I felt Leeds were in a stronger position as a team, and you know what Leeds are going to do. Ultimately, Leeds are short of scoring goals, but with this Forest team, I see a lot of players thrown together, and you fear that it might be enough to keep them up this season, but you fear that they're not building a team and a club and a structure around them. That would be my only concern. But
there's a lot of character in that.
Yeah.
For a group of players who've been brought together over the past 6-9 months, there is a character, a togetherness, a resoluteness in that performance where they've bought into what Steve Cooper wants.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I just mean in terms of it's brutal to watch. There's a lack of quality, and Nico Williams really struggled today. Serge Aurier has been poor over the last while, albeit start the season well. They lacked a little bit of quality, and at this, you would imagine at the Premiership level, you get found out eventually. They're still not safe, and they need a couple of more wins. And sometimes to win games of football, you need to go and have a little bit of magic about you, and that would be my fear. But they may just have enough this year, and their spending power is certainly going to help them, and they're in a stronger position than a lot of other clubs in around them, and points on the board will go a long way.
Well, to flip it, all you need to do is look at Leeds United, who were by far the better team, certainly for the first hour. The last half hour, you couldn't say neither side really did very much. It sort of petered out, which suited Forest. But for the first hour, Leeds created a lot of chances. Nonto looked at a huge threat down the left-hand side. And they look a better team, arguably, than Nottingham Forest. But Forest are now 6 points clear of them. And what do you say to the Leeds fans who are looking at that about Jesse Marsch and where they're going?
I would say you have to be really worried. And I like Jesse Marsch. I know people listen to us sort of because he's come from America, and you get certain language around it and people criticise him. But I like what he does. But I'd have a real fear for this Leeds team, because you would say, yes, on paper they're as good as Nottingham Forest. They're probably a better team and a better structure to them, but they don't have any momentum at the moment, and it seems to be the wind has come completely out of sails. Bamford has been, a real disappointment. The last 18 months, 2 years of a career hasn't helped, and unless you've got someone that can put the ball in the back of the net, you're going to really, really struggle. You don't even see Leeds going up and being a threat from set pieces. So I think they're in a real rut at the moment. It may be at the board level they feel the only way getting out of it is change the manager and getting a new manager bounce. So that will be the fear for Jesse Marsch. But they look like they're a good team with nice players, but soft. And you compare that to the Forest team we've seen today, you can see there's a bit of character in the Forest team, and they'll dig in and get results. And if you're soft at the highest level, you're going to get punished by teams, and that's where they're at the moment, and I'd fear for them at the moment.
They've 2 games against Manchester United coming up over the next week, which are always huge games for Leeds fans. Maybe they give Jesse Marsch that. And they did lose key players during the summer. They lost Calvin Phillips, they lost Rafinha, and now they've lost Rodrigo as well. So they had themselves a goal scorer. He was up in 10 Premier League goals. I say Bamford just doesn't seem the same player since injury. Rudder came on, 35, 36 million, hasn't scored a huge amount of goals, even in the Bundesliga, club record signing. Didn't do very much when he appeared. Like, part of the problem is that you look at the Leeds team and you go, there's a lot of nice players there.
Yeah.
But none of them look to be at the peak of their powers right now.
No, and that's the fear. That a lot of nice players. Rodrigo's a big loss, 10 goals in I think 25 games. That's a big loss for them. And he could have used that time to. Bamford needs games. You would like to think they can get him close to his best again, or you hope they will. But I thought, like, when you look at the money from Calvin Phillips they brought in from Man City, they haven't reinvested that into the squad, to be fair. And they've backed the manager. They've sort of changed the team a little bit and where they were. So a lot of good players have come into the club, but they just look like they've a bit of a soft belly. And when you go away to clubs like Nottingham Forest who are going to dig in, you're not going to pick up results that way. And that is the problem for Leeds at the moment. They look a little bit soft. Yeah,
7 games without a win. They're only outside the relegation zone on goal difference and only ahead of Everton on goal difference. When we look back at the weekend, there's a lot of interesting storylines, and Everton is certainly one of them. Sean Dyche goes in. It's Dwight McNeil corner. It's a James Tarkowski header. It's very much made in Burnley, that victory over Arsenal. Was there anything about that Everton performance that surprised you yesterday?
No,
considering
not really.
What Sean Dyche could do in a few days?
Yeah, no, not really. I think he's gone in. There's a lot of talk around Sean Dyche in terms of, I know he'd done some sort of a fitness test with the players, and but Eddie Howe done the same thing at Newcastle and there wasn't the same noise. You know, there's a lot of noise around Sean Dyche. I think he's trying to change that. He's done a lot of these high performance podcasts and things like that, and he's spoken up a lot to try and sort of give people a bit of his character and what he is. But ultimately then he doesn't shy away from the fact that he is all about hard work. He is all about people being honest and honest to the game, and I thought Everton were that. Perfect example from an Irish eyes was Seamus Coleman performance. It's the first time I've seen Seamus on the pitch wherever went. He's fit enough for this level. I don't mean a lack of fitness in a lazy way. I mean a run of games, and I think someone like Coleman will benefit from working under Sean Dyche, where everything will be done 100% perfect. Every stat will be analysed, every inch on the training ground. As you said, set pieces will be managed, and I think Coleman will benefit from it. You've seen that Martinelli was taken off because he was ineffective, and Coleman done really well, albeit Everton were sort of really defensive and there wasn't a lot of space behind Coleman. But I thought that's a perfect example where you see really good players and Dyche getting the very best out of them.
It's incredible how quickly you look at a team differently with a different manager, whereas now you look at Everton and a week ago they'd gone, there's such a lack of confidence, a lack of quality in that squad, and no new signings coming in. Whereas now you're going, they've got the England goalkeeper, they've got 2 vastly experienced centre halves in Tarkowski and Cody, who know what these sort of challenges are all about. Onana was exceptional, a Belgian international in the midfield, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin looked like a player again. After that performance, and listen, there's an initial high of a new manager coming in. Are you looking at Everton's prospects completely differently now?
No, you have to, and it is the manager effect because he does, as I said, everything right, everything on the training ground is right. I think they play Liverpool in the next game or next week or two.
Yeah, they go to Anfield on Monday week.
And that will be another test for them, but it's also the perfect game. You don't need to get your players up. You don't, Liverpool are struggling at the moment, so that'll be a good game for them. But yeah, you would back Sean Dyche to get the very best or last inch of positivity out of these players and every last inch of sweat out of them. And I would say more chance of them staying up now than obviously Lampard in charge last week, and of that I don't think there's any doubt.
Unfortunate timing for Arsenal, who if they'd gone to Goodison Park any other week probably would have ran riot. They came up against a very different force yesterday. Arsenal's chances of winning the title then based on that performance, and even the performance against Newcastle, when you're going up against a team who are rock solid defensively, does Arteta have a few different things to think about now as to how he sets up for those sort of games? Yeah,
look, I think Arsenal have been exceptional, particularly where they've come from, and it's a big lesson for whether it's Liverpool or Chelsea at the moment who are struggling, or Manchester United who have been coming force. Big lesson. Trust really good managers, give them time, let them grow into it, and they've done a brilliant job. But I don't believe for 1 minute that Arsenal will win this Premier League. Could be wrong, but I think Man City will beat them and beat them comfortably. I think they're short of where they need to get to, but they're on the way. I think Jesus has been a huge loss. I know Nketiah has played well for them, but you really do struggle to win a league without an outstanding centre forward. They don't have one. A lot of young players who form will come up and go up and down, but they'll be thereabouts. But they're just short, I feel, and I think they'll get the test now, like away to Everton, and a couple of difficult tests will come their way. They've played Man City a couple of times, and I think they'll fall just short. But the momentum taken into next season and where they've come from, that tells you Arteta's been the manager of the year so far. And but I just feel they're short, and that was the big test that they didn't pass on against Everton.
Big opportunity for you here now, Vinny, to make your name as a pundit, because I haven't heard anybody fully get to the bottom of it yet. What the hell is going on at Liverpool?
Yeah, like I suppose, look, it's on record maybe 18 months ago, 2 years ago, the importance of Liverpool on this radio station, the importance of Liverpool signing Jude Bellingham at the time. Now it's an obvious one. So I think everyone knows there's a problem in midfield. And far be it from me to question Klopp, but the one I can't get my head around is a couple of years ago when they struggled to get into the Champions League with injuries to centre-halves, if you remember Van Dijk's injury, and they went to Nat Phillips and he was outstanding. And sometimes some of the solutions, and I'm not saying Nat Phillips is the solution to all Liverpool's problems, but sometimes it stares you in the face. And they've got to get back, and they've spoken about keeping a clean sheet and keeping things tight. And to see Nat Phillips sitting on the bench and Joe Gomez and Matip being awful on the pitch, and you've got to go back to someone like Nat Phillips, who's a natural centre half, not easy on the eye. He's not going to dribble out. He's not going to make them tick from the back or any of them things. But he's going to defend properly. He's going to head stuff. He's going to win his tackles. And Liverpool need to start keeping clean sheets. And some of the solution for Klopp is staring him in the face, and I actually flabbergasted that he hasn't gone to Nat Phillips yet, in whether it's instead of Gomez or Matip, as I said, and get him in and win headers and clear the ball and just do the ugly stuff, what he is good at. And listen, we all know the problem then in midfield is
but it feels it's greater than that now. That like if there's a team in the Premier League you want to play right now, it's Liverpool, because every team that they go up against is creating chances. And there were performances since Christmas against Brighton and Brentford where going into that game you knew the style of football, the energy that they bring would cause this current Liverpool side problems. But Wolves are a side who don't play with any great pace, who don't play with a real intensity, who like to control the game with Neves in midfield. And they ripped them to pieces.
Yeah, Liverpool have no momentum at the moment, and there's obviously a couple of reasons for him. We won't know maybe for a couple of years. You look at Jordan Henderson sitting on the bench, and people say, "Oh, Jordan Henderson finished," and yeah, he's nowhere near as good as he once was. But to leave Jordan Henderson on the bench while Naby Keita was on the pitch the other day, for example, who was really, really poor. So look, it's fine margins at that level. If you go back to the very first game of the season, Liverpool-Man City in the Charity Shield, you look at Diaz and you say, yeah, he's done a really almost Alex Ferguson-like thing where he said Mane is nowhere near the level as he was, or he's fallen off the level. He's replaced him with Diaz, who was outstanding. And now that Liverpool performance, Jota coming in for Firmino, you were like, he has cracked it. He has reinvented the side. But all of a sudden, 6 months later, they just look a complete and utter average team. Small margins, fine detail, and they look like they're really soft in midfield. And you have to say that since signing the new contract, Salah has been nowhere near the player that he once was, and he's lucky to be still in the team at times. But
Klopp doesn't look himself either. Now, having covered Liverpool a lot during his time in charge, he's often been a bad winner and a bad loser.
Yeah.
Like his crankiness
after
games doesn't necessarily reflect what the result is. But it really seems to have gone up a notch yesterday. He was having a real row with one of the journalists, James Pearce, who'd be incredibly well respected, has covered Liverpool for years, and refusing to answer his question. That is bringing it to another level of almost paranoia. Like this, ultimately, he is the one who will have the statue built of him outside of Anfield. Yeah. He will get all the credit as a Liverpool great. When things are going wrong, he needs to be able to answer the questions. Yeah. Does that suggest that he doesn't have a clue what the problem is?
Well, what I'll say on that is...
don't be having a go at journalists here now.
No, I operate at a completely lower level, absolutely from here down to their level. And sometimes when the top team and the wind comes out of your sails, it's very, very difficult to stop it. And people need to be patient and need to understand. And sometimes the manager actually don't know why, because the whole week in training everything looks good. You have the chats with the players, and you know you've got some of the best players in the world on your pitch, and it just doesn't happen. You look at the Brighton game last week, as you said, they didn't deserve to lose that game. They ultimately did, and things just go against you, and there's just no reason for it, and or the reasons are that deep. So there's a whole lot of things gone wrong at Liverpool. I would say to you, Klopp, I would listen, he could resign tomorrow, but I would feel he's there for the long haul. I think he'll rebuild this team, and he'll feel like he owes it back to Liverpool have been so good to him. But you've got to say that we spoke in the Charity Shield game, as I said, about his recruitment being brilliant. He's got it completely wrong as a club. They've got it wrong. You look at Harvey Elliott and you think he doesn't fit the Liverpool way. Again, great young player coming through, doesn't fit the Liverpool way. Curtis Jones doesn't really fit the Liverpool way. They haven't got that part right, and that part of the midfield. And again, Kanate hasn't worked out for them, and Van Dijk is being off. So look, system manager releasing books about intensity, Andy Robinson doing books.
Nothing worse than assistant managers getting ahead of themselves, is there?
Yeah, no, there's not. Far from it. I've had that asked of a lot of assistant managers over the years. Look, they've got to reset. A good assistant manager, by the way, Nathan, is sitting in the background. No one knows who he is, but they forget that he was maybe quite good. But look, they've got to reset. They've got to get back to what they were good at. And Liverpool fans have to accept that this is going to be a difficult year for them. May not, or obviously won't get Champions League football at this stage, but I wouldn't put it past them winning a Champions League from nowhere. That's the type of magic that surrounds Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp. But it seems a long way off now at the moment, and he's got to look at himself. We've got to question people in the club and say, we've got to do our job better when it comes to recruitment. Someone like Jude Bellingham, as I said earlier on, is going to cost you now 150 million. And they're going to need to dig in that much to repair where they've come to.
Great stuff, Vinny.
Cheers, thank you.